Deuteronomy 13:3-4 says this, "For the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. You must follow the Lord your God and not fear him. You must keep his commands and listen to him. You must worship him and remain faithful to him." You see, friends, why God allows trials and temptations in our life, I think oftentimes we wonder, why does he do that? He doesn't do it because he enjoys watching us be in pain and suffering. No, he does it because he wants to show us that we need to love him with everything that is within us. And the only way we can do that, or that he can do that, is through trials and temptations. Why? Because through trials and temptations, what truly is revealed is what's within our heart. When we go through those trials or we're being tempted, it's not the fact that we see that we're a bad person. We see that there's some areas that sin has a greater impact than the love of Jesus, because we've allowed sin to have a foothold in our life. What does it look like, though, that we would love the Lord our God with all of our heart and with all of our soul, as Deuteronomy 13 says? Well, it's important to recognize that the greatest commandment in the whole entire Bible is found in Deuteronomy 6, and it says this: to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, and with all of your soul. And now you're like, Brian, that sounds great, but what does that look like, and how do I do that? Well, I think Deuteronomy 13 gives us 6 easy applications of how we can love God with everything that is within us. And it says this: that we would follow the Lord, that we would fear him, that we would keep his commands, that we would listen to him, that we would worship him, and that we would remain faithful to him. And I want to focus on that last one, that we would remain faithful to him. You see, it's great when we follow the Lord, but if we're only following the Lord on Monday, or if we're only worshiping God on Sunday, are we truly remaining faithful to him? You see, I think oftentimes we treat God like a middle school crush. There's days that we really, really like him, and there's days that we don't. I don't know about you, but when I was in middle school, it felt like all my friends liked so many different girls on so many different days. There'd be one time where my friend would like Julie. And then I'd be like, say, "Hey man, are you still into Julie?" He's like, "Nah man, I moved on to Mary." I'm like, "Bro, how did you get over Julie so fast?" But I think oftentimes we do the same thing with God. For a couple of days, we really like God, or we love God. We're willing to wake up early and spend time with him. But as the days go on, we're not so willing anymore. And Netflix takes over, or sports take over, or busyness takes over. Or for some of us right now, sleeping in till 2 o'clock in the afternoon takes over. But if we can remain faithful, all of those things, how we follow him, we fear him, we keep his commands, we listen to him, we worship him, they become more natural to him the longer we remain faithful to him. Why? Because as we remain faithful to God, we begin to take on the character of who God is. And those become more natural because we want to worship God. We want to follow God. We want to obey God. You see, guys, he is always faithful to us, even when we are not faithful. So my challenge for you today is this: would you remain faithful to God? Well, not just today as you watch this Devo, but in 2 weeks from now, can you remain faithful to God? In 2 years from now, can you remain faithful to God? It's our job to follow him, to fear him, to keep his commands, to listen to him, to worship him, and to remain faithful to him. That is our part. He will always remain faithful to us, but we need to always remain faithful to him.